Welcome, everybody. We're letting people in right now. So we'll wait another minute or so.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get started. Pardon me. So I'm Larry Couch. I'm director of the National Advocacy Center, Sisters of the Good Shepherd. And NAC is a, I got to keep many people in. NAC is a co-sponsor of the gathering. And so thank you for joining us for an hour or so as we present some poems and talk about poetry and talk about the creative process. The okay, just a second here. All right, so I thought that given all that has happened recently, I would just start off with a short poem by Langston Hughes in memory of Mr. George Floyd. It's called My People. The night is beautiful, so the faces of my people. The stars are beautiful, so the eyes of my people. Beautiful also is the sun. Beautiful also are the souls of my people. I'm still admitting people. Okay, just a second. This is great, lots of people coming. The everyone is muted, but you're free to unmute yourselves. But please stay muted except when you're speaking. Everyone is, is invited to use the chat function. Okay, and so we see this occasion as a chance for informal discussion to talk about poetry, the creative process. And so I'm going to be letting people in, and Lori Powell is going to serve as moderator. So Lori, it's all yours.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Lori Powell. Let's see, I'm currently living on the coast of Maine, and my day job is teaching English as a second language to adults. I've been writing poetry for many years. I've also been a member of Brad Strahan's Washington Poets Workshop, where I met all these other lovely people. Let's see. So a lot of my poems start with something in nature that I see or have experienced. And from there, I'll often connect it to something personal or something in the human world. And the first poem that I'm going to share is an example of that. Let's see if I can bring it up here. Okay, can everybody see this all right? I'm hoping. Okay, the first poem is called Migration. In the autumn morning, where river meets ocean, 5 seals surface, doggy faces bobbing, then a flash of mirrored light as they roll, the sea a silk scarf, slipping the length of their sides. 2 more days, then they're gone. This decision, the other, in the long unbroken moment that is their lives. No thought of mine has this span. But if there's something that moves in me from birth to death, an instinct I inhabit, like a country of narrow roads leading home, it is like this migration, a nosing toward warmth, the wrap of water, a kind of love.
Thank you, Lori. Did you want to talk a little bit about the poem?
Talking about my poems is not my strong suit. Let's see. Well, this actually began with a direct experience. This is seals, or there's a lot of seals up here off the coast of Maine. And I guess I'm trying to, well, to capture something about the seals, something real about them, and also to put myself sort of in the mind of a seal, to imagine what it must be like to be a seal. And I got to wondering about how they make a decision. How do they make a decision to start migrating? What happens, and what is time to a seal? What is yesterday and today and this moment, the next moment to a seal? And then I started thinking about my own instincts, and that's yep, that's the poem.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Let me just see. Okay, I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat too, which is one of my jobs here. So just so you know, I might, if anybody is typing a comment or a question, I might not get to it right away, but I will do my best.
Yeah, everybody can, feel free to chat if you wish.
Okay, this next poem I wrote when I was living in the Washington, D.C. area. This is about a bird I would hear every morning, very loud call. I still haven't quite identified it, although Melissa thinks maybe it's Carolina wren. So if anybody has any idea, they can let me know what they think. This is called To the Bird That Wakes Me. Beyond my window, a stairway floats in the trees. 3 notes up, 3 down. Your song at first light climbs to unlock the morning. How long I've followed you up these stairs and down, grateful to put one foot before the other. Then this morning you change your rhythm, add a flourish of notes, a finial at the end of your stairway. What do you mean by this sudden Baroque turn? Have pity on me, wedged in the skin of reason, finger tracing circles and spilt coffee while the world shifts within its speckled egg. Okay, and I just saw somebody put a comment. Oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you. So, Anna, you said, aren't you going to read the seal poem? I did read the seal poem. Were you not able to hear it? Or perhaps you came in after. Ah, okay. Okay. Okay, next poem is called The Vine. And this poem is basically an extended metaphor, I guess you could say, using the vine as a metaphor. Okay, the vine. Yours is a tall mind, moving among the upper branches, muscles singing their long, clear notes. blame me for riding the bony shanks of trees up towards the sunlight, though it's past my growing season. Hear the woods vibrate with quick things, nervous mice, birds with staccato calls and sudden decisions. But I leaf to a winding rhythm and will never catch you. Long after you've flown, I'll be coiling towards the rustling overhead, forgetting every smoothed and straightened desire. Okay, and let's see. Patricia is asking, when I first became interested in poetry. Thank you for that question. Let's see, a long time ago. I was very fortunate to have an English teacher in my middle school who really encouraged me. I was a very shy, introverted child, and at that time, young adolescent. And we would keep a journal in English class, and I started writing poetry in the journal, and she was very encouraging and gave me books of poetry to read and really encouraged me. And I guess, yeah, I've been writing ever since. Yeah, the bony shanks of trees. And it says, yeah, thank you. Okay. I think maybe I'll read one more and then turn the mic over to Brad. This is a short little one called Thorns. And this is a more, I guess, sort of an abstract poem. Again, it's an extended metaphor again, really. Thorns. Things snag in the mind. A song lands like a bird in a thicket, leaving feathers. Nothing stays that's whole. Bits of thread from a sleeve where someone's reached for a rose. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Brad. And the plan is for each of us to read a few poems, and then if there's time left over, we might go around again and read a few more. So let's see. Anna's asking, how long does it take me to write a poem? Another really good question. Sometimes the initial idea might come very quickly, but then there's the working out of it, which takes a little longer. So I don't write very fast. So maybe I might work on a poem for a week or two and get it to a certain point, and then maybe I'll bring it to the workshop and share it with the other poets that you see here. They'll give me feedback and I'll work on it some more, think about it some more. So it could be, a few weeks before I feel like it's really finished. And then sometimes I'll come back to poems that I've written years ago and I've never entirely been satisfied with, and will try to kind of drag them into the present, so to speak, and work on them some more and make them better. And sometimes that's really a very satisfying activity, and they do get better. Other times they just don't. And then I might just put them aside again. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I'm gonna minimize my poems here. And Brad, do you want to introduce yourself first and then I'll bring up your poems?
Well, I guess I will, open it up. Why not? Because
okay, let's make sure that
I kind of segue into the other anyway.
So can everyone see this first poem called Sacred Music? If you can't, right, put something. Does it look okay to you, Brad? Can you see it okay?
Well, I'm reading off my paper anyway.
Oh, but it's up there. I just want to make sure
I can see it, yeah.
There worked. Okay, good. Great.
Okay, well, I guess, am I on?
You are on.
Okay, hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Brad Strahan, And I've been involved in poetry since I was a kid. And I've taught poetry at the university for a while, at Georgetown University. I've done a lot of different things, but poetry has been part of me since I can remember. And I also do publish an international magazine, which has been going on for 42 years. I think I'll show you the cover if it comes up here. That's the latest issue. And it has people from all over the world. And I'll try to get up something that shows you how you can get in touch with me about it if anybody's interested in sending some poetry or whatever. Okay, well, the first one I'm going to read was written in Ireland, and I have a book of poems that came to the year plus when we lived in Ireland back in 2012 through 2014, well, over that period, stretching from one to the other. And this is the book it came out of, which is a picture of a 13th century church in Mallow, which is a town 30 minutes north of Cork. Anyway, there's an up-to-date one that people attend there, which is St. James. Sacred music. Beneath the place where words can venture, the organ speaks of wind through trees, chanting voices of rain remembered. Its grain is etched in cardinal numbers, larks and wrens flock through its keys. Ingrained with bars of swelling bird song, dark with sounds of daw and crow. With every breath it still remembers the shush of rain, the crash of thunder, its wonder like the voice of God. And part of the reason for that is that when we came and my wife wanted to attend whatever church was available in the town, and this church needed an organist. Strangely enough, it's very hard to find organists in Ireland. They're not everywhere like they seem to be here. And so even though she hadn't played in quite a while, I encouraged her and she started playing the organ there. This way is the reason behind this poem. Okay, well, we can.
Next one. Okay. Can I ask a computer question? Can you see the chat that I've got up on the screen here, Brad?
No.
No, you can't. Okay. Okay. So only I can see that. Yeah. So Fran is making a comment saying, "You're from New England, Brad."
Oh, yes. I may live in Texas now and have for quite a few years, but yeah, born and raised, as they say, in New England. Okay, well, this is a poem that was written. Poems you're often influenced, always come from experience. A good poem is based on experience in one way or another. They say, write what you know, and overall, that's a very true comment. And when my son was young, we used to go to this farm in Pennsylvania, near Lancaster, and we'd stay there a few nights, and this was pretty much as described. I sit at the edge of a field and invite the muse. Come on, I've been waiting here for hours. 1,000 leaves come down as starlings thatch the mottled sky. Come on, a tractor drops its golden freight. The breeze returns to half bare boughs that stretch to catch the falling sun. Come on, birdsong warms the lazing cows, while boards keep time against the barn, and swallows skim the gnats from clouds. Come on, a hawk extends its idle gyre as rabbits tense among the corn. My pen is etched above the page. Everything waits. I think I'll stick with doing just 3 poems at this point, and if there's time, I'll get to some others.
Okay.
At the time when we were doing this, setting up for this reading, part of the reason there's a number of poems about birds and such, as you'll see if I read some more of them, is because, yeah, anyway, I appreciate that comment. Is because I thought there was going to be environmentalism to some extent involved in this conference. I'm religion and related to environmentalism. So that's one of the reasons some of these poems very much have birds and nature in them. Bird song. I don't know where this poem came from. That happens too. The muse comes along and what she does is this. And anyway, bird song. Birds empty the blanching sky, primordial reasoning that embraces senses we cannot even imagine. Like the startle of night when the prehensile hail of sleep loses its grip and we fall from primate dreams. Nothing calculates the numerology of birds, the sliding scale of dreams, premonitions picking their way through a forest of stars.
Brad, we've got a question from Patricia, first she says, thanks for sharing. Then she's asking, who are some of your favorite poets?
Ah, God. Well, I'm one of my first poets that I sort of fell in love with in the St. Vincent Millay. And but of course, like everybody, I was influenced by Shakespeare. I remember first encountering Shakespeare when I was about 11. And now ever since then, he's an influence, I think, that's unavoidable for anyone who's writing in English. It should be unavoidable. And there's lots of others. I mean, my God. In fact, one of my favorite poets is Laurie.
Oh, thank you. Okay, another question. Fran is asking, do you ever suffer from writer's block? If
Oh,
so, how do you manage it?
Well, there's a lot of ways of managing writer's block. One of them, of course, I keep a file of ideas that I've had, of poems that were half-baked or hardly baked at all, or little snippets of this and that. And also I have a whole file of poems I've been writing over the years, and a lot of them need work. I mean, it's rare that when you look at a poem again after many years, you don't realize that something was not quite right there. I mean, just the other day, I just rewrote a very short poem. Not rewrote it, but made a couple of key changes, and it's so much better. I've been an editor of this international journal, and somehow it's handy because I edit myself.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the journal is concerned, again, if I can do it, maybe someone can write it down in the chat. I'm no damn good at computers. I'm too old for computers. But there's a website where you can find out about the journal. And this is all in lowercase, so maybe Lori or somebody can enter it.
You can type it, yeah, if you tell me.
Okay, the website to find out about the magazine, how to send poems to the magazine, how to get a copy of the magazine, or anything you want to know about it. And it's www.visions, all lowercase, I as in international, www.visionsi and .com. It's that simple. Like everything else, I have a wonderful prof from a college at one of the universities in Houston who's doing this website for free for me. And that's what you do, because there's no money in poetry, as everybody knows.
Let's see, there's another question for both. As you put together words to create a poem, do you rely on what the words visualize or what the words sound? Ah, wow, interesting.
Both.
Yeah, I'd say both. Yeah. Well, and Larry and Melissa, if you want to weigh in on this as well. What the words visualize or what the words sound. Yeah, I think both have to go together.
It depends what you're writing about. Sometimes you want to repeat S's or T's or K's because of the hard sound of them, the consonant. Other times you might have a watery image, and you can control what people take away from your poem by perhaps the softness or hardness of word choice, along with meaning. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, that's good.
That's what I do.
I think I lean towards the visual, but then I'll read the poem aloud and maybe change some words based on how it sounds.
I would say you are visual.
Right.
For sure, yeah. I've got a lot of visual. I think it's mostly visual, not too abstract. My husband would argue that point, but not too abstract.
Yeah, well, you can have a lot of things involved in it. I mean, I like to use a lot of alliteration more than I use rhyme. because alliteration
Mhm.
kind of can be thrown throughout the poem rather than just hitting at the
Yeah.
end of the line.
That's right. It's fun.
Oh, God.
40 years,
Well, that,
40 for me.
Oh, so
the
everybody
workshop
can see the-
started in my apartment when in 1978, I believe. And Larry was in the workshop just about at that point. He's the only other member who was that far back, but everybody else has been it for 20 or 30 years.
Well, I was 1980.
And I guess I must have been like 1992 or something, three. Yeah.
Early 90s in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody's been in it for less than 20 years.
No. And we never fuss and fight with each other.
Yeah, we've had a lot of members over the years who've gone in and out of it. Back when we were in
Yeah.
the DC area, we had people, including some people who I don't remember their names anymore, but who were reasonably well known in the
Oh, yeah.
poetry community who were part of the workshop.
Uh-huh.
People have gone in and out, but this is the group that's stayed together now for pretty much ever since we went. We had to contact each other because we moved to different places. So we
Mhm.
at first did it with Skype, and now we sometimes do it with Zoom. Because I'm in Waco, Texas, Larry's back in Maryland, and Lori's in Maine, and Melissa's sometimes in Virginia, and sometimes in Maryland. And we have one other member, and wasn't able to stay with us because she's a famous person and is constantly being dragged off to other things. And that's the woman you may have heard of named Deborah Tannen. But she couldn't make it for this.
Can everybody see this question in the chat?
Yep.
Okay, so I
I see
wasn't
that.
sure whether everybody could see this, but you can. Great. Yeah. Do you feel like your writing styles influence one another? Oh,
I think to a limited extent, but we all each have a very distinctive voice.
Yeah.
And
So it really
there's,
doesn't mix.
yeah. In fact, that's very healthy because one of the problems sometimes with MFA classes is everybody is copying everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
so Brad, you wanted to stop here, or do you want to read one
I'll
more?
stop here and I'll read some more this time.
Okay. All right, then, Melissa, I guess you
All right.
are up. So I'm going to
I think I'm up
Brad's down and put yours up.
and mute.
And get back up to the top here and get the
Okay.
chat out of the way.
right.
There we go.
This is very brief. I have little to no few adjectives and things that are descriptive. I've been working hard on writing poetry that is direct, reachable. It may or may not be obvious in the same way I'm writing it, but many times that's not absolutely necessary. I wasn't sure what to write this day. This is recent. It was I wrote this in December. And I was reading the news online, and this picture of this child, one of many pictures of a kid on a packed bus, and he's just looking out the window. And he's very young. This kid was absolutely under the age of 4 or 5. And it just struck me that this child I'm going to turn the page, and that child will go off and have probably not a great experience. And, how can I make that stick around? How can I make that stay or shine a light on a corner? And often I think a poem, we can write and we can illuminate small corners. A poem does not have to be big. It doesn't have to be about anything that's grand. And I find this, I felt he was worth saving. I wanted to preserve him. This is called Refugees. I saw a child today who was too young to be so old. His eyes dense and wet in the bus window. What was he hoping for, clinging to his mother like that, unable to unsee? You see something from the outside with no backstory whatsoever, no support, and you're not sure. All I do know is that child has seen more than any of us have, and he can't undo that. So I was struck by that and try to shine a little bit of a light. The next one I want to read This was written after my first job when I came out of graduation from the University of Maryland. And I had a job with the World Wildlife Fund. And this is in their first office off DuPont Circle. All the original people were on the ground floor at that point. And I was the last person left. All the scientists had left. The president had left. He didn't even have a separate office at this point. He was down the hall from me. And the phone rang. The receptionist was gone. This is a real thing that happened. Whale watcher. The call came through. End of my day. The receptionist gone. I was left to answer. A man whispering murder into a payphone. Said he was on a dock. A seaman in rain and dark along Norway's coast. In the water, chunks of whale meat were being dumped into barrels in the Black Sea, a secret killing, but colliding waves, loud rain scattered his words as he expected me to send help. His terror made my heart race. I never forgot about the man who called from the Arctic Circle. Then silent as a fish, he was gone. That was such a powerful thing to have gotten a call about. I was only about 24 and I had given this responsibility that I could do nothing about. So the next one I'd like to read. Because at that time in World Wildlife Fund, 1980, there was a lot heavy duty whale killing. And there's a huge movement, stopped it in some countries. It still continues with Iceland and Japan. That's just how we are in the world. But most of the rest of the planet, I think, has stopped it. But I don't think anybody responded to this call, you know. Let me jump forward. I'm going to go backward in time. I feel it's really important to write what you know. Don't write about something that you're not. I'm not going to write about being an astronaut or a cowboy, but a cowboy in my imagination might be fun because I used to teach horseback riding. It could be a stretch. That's poetic license. But ideally, write of some experience that you've got. I've often thought of this incident that happened when I was about 12. Made a map for myself and then went tearing through the neighborhood. This is called cutting corners. I snipped a triangle from the back of a man's head, walked my fingers to the grocery ad, used a banana for a guide as I cut through a red vermouth label, folded streets on their alleys till I had a walking map to make my way home, cutting through yards and other people's houses. That woman's face looked up from ironing as I flew past and out her back door. She was quite surprised. She was some neighbor lady.
That really captures childhood, I think.
Yeah, just that freedom of childhood. And it kind of goes from I wrote about the refugee, this child, this little boy who will not have anything like that ever. And then I go to this simple thing that happened with my world. And I just want to make those little instances exist. They don't have to exist forever, constantly happening. But every time you look at the poem, there's a breath of life in them. There's a breath of life to everyone. That boy will always live on right there for me. I will always see his face. This next one I have, friends of mine asked me 3 years ago, what's your perfect day? And I truly think they expected me to come up with something instantly. And it wasn't working that way. I overthink things a little bit. And I could not come up with anything satisfactory. So I'm thinking about it. So 3 years later, this is how sometimes a poem will work. I thought I was going to answer this verbally or send them a text or something. This is the answer to your question. And I didn't. I thought this is going to be a poem because I've got too much stuff to cover. So this is the perfect day. A friend asked me what that might look like. The question, not a simple one. A slippery green hillside at dusk or morning because birds singing they survive the night is perfection. The earth stops rotating. Everyone falls away like sugar cubes in hot tea. Not a bad day. The beach, any coast. Water covers toes, tugs at knees, urges toward more depth, lungs fill with salt water. There could be panic. It could take a while. Or a flower field frozen in ice where bees warm themselves with their golden bundles. I could just watch. And I'll stop there.
Okay, I'd
Fidel?
like just to comment that
Yeah.
one of the things I really enjoy about our group is you read a really nice poem and the poet is sitting across from you. You know, like, oh, wow, that's really neat. So it's nice.
Melissa, can I ask?
Yeah, I see that. How does writing poetry make you feel? Well, truly, it's a physical rush. Absolutely. And when the poem starts taking off and you start just writing and understand every single thing you're pouring on the page doesn't necessarily mean it's etched in stone and it stays that way. You can change your things, but just get every single thing out there that comes to mind is real important. But I just feel uplifted when I've written one, when I finished it, like this one right here, The Perfect Day, when I finished this a few months ago. Really, I finished it. It didn't mean that the version I finished was this one because it wasn't quite, but it was close actually. It was very, very close to this one. But I bring a lot of things to the workshop. We make some changes. Frequently, we make minimal changes. It just depends. A lot of times it's more tweaking things for language or grammar or something that doesn't quite work out, or something that's not believable. If you're writing poetry or even writing fiction or anything, you gotta be believable. You must be persuasive. Even if it's just for 5 seconds, you wanna be persuasive. And poetry writing makes me feel great. Makes me feel highly frustrated, and I'm not easy to be around if I'm in the middle of working on a poem. The day that I'm working on a poem before a workshop, everyone knows, my family, they gonna give me space because I tell them I'm not doing dinner, I'm making no meals. I am on poetry and that is all I'm doing. So when I'm spacing out, staring off into the woods or a turtle or whatever, nobody thinks it's strange. So thank you very much. I think Larry.
Okay, there was
You know what? I did not introduce myself, did I? I will do a real quick one at the end.
Oh.
I just realized I didn't.
Well, maybe you should do it right now.
Okay, Melissa Bell. Sorry. Been with the workshop 40 years, like I said. I have recently retired from the most wonderful job I've ever had, which is 14 years as a substitute teacher in a middle school. Really hard, but really good because it's just such a forgettable time. Anyway, that's it. Larry, it's yours.
there is a question. There is a question to Brad about, I wrote down the website as visioni.com.
Yeah, there has to be no capitals. The V isn't capitalized.
No, that doesn't matter.
Okay.
The S is missing.
It's the S. Yeah, the S was missing.
Yeah, the S is missing too. That's right. Yeah.
VisionsI.com.
Yep.
Yeah, I may have omitted the S when I first wrote it. Sorry. Okay.
All right, let me see if I can work this out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it now. You got it. Thank you. So if anybody's interested in sending me poetry, you can find out there. Or if you want to get a copy of the magazine, you can find out. We've been doing it for 42 years.
Okay. Oh, I should introduce myself first. Larry Couch. Still Larry Couch. I think I've liked poetry. The first poem I remember liking, I was in 8th grade, and the teacher read The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and I thought, wow, that was great. And I think I never lost the enjoyment of poetry. And I became a joke in my family because they would limit me because I'd say, can I read a poem? Then I'd read another one. They'd say, you can read 3 poems and that's all. So, they set boundaries for me. But anyway, so the plan. Let's bleed the land of gold, silver, copper, coal, export tropical fruits, sugarcane, coffee. We'll rob them blind. They will never notice. Then we will import slaves for backbreaking work, pollute their rivers, their air, their lives. If they protest, we'll call them criminals, imprison them. The plan is perfect. What can go wrong? We'll grow rich and sip cool drinks along the beach. I'll read another one.
It's a powerful message.
I really,
Zero sums. Anxious, waiting the zero sum of all our games, days. The play ends with the stage blown apart, but don't lose heart. The manager seeks new employment. Anyway, this is Homecoming. So many cluttered visions, hope held hostage to a future unwon. The envelope of necessity sealed for a moment, then released in the present moment. An insect encapsulated in a bubble of water, a child's toy. On the underside of the rug, discovers an alternate universe. Welcome home. So what generated that poem, my granddaughter, like she was like 6 months, 8 months. Anyway, she was visiting and she discovered our rug and pulled up the rug and looked at the underside. And I felt it was like the first time in her life she realized there was an underside to things, you know, like a whole new universe. So anyway, that was there. I'll read one more poem and then we can go back to Lori. Seasons. This is a recent poem. He got a bucket full of time, poured it on his backyard, out of sight of his prying neighbors. Even the birds complained. Spring had barely begun. The young birds not yet learning to cleave a worm. Insects still wearing winter coats. Was he coloring with autumn, new leaves barely unfurled? What was his hurry? He in his 3-piece suit with cufflinks, briefcase with yesterday's sandwich. Why hurry the season along? The crickets complained for 2 weeks. Only the children ran under the bucket, not realizing how quickly life passes. So I stopped share and
Larry, could you see that question in the chat?
I
okay.
have a question.
It's Patricia says, thanks, Larry. What does poetry mean to you?
It means different things, different times, but I think recently what I really enjoy about poetry is just the creativity of it. It's almost like, I find when I write a poem, I think today it's like going you're in a strange city and you're lost and you don't have any money. And what happens? I become creative, you know, and it's sort of like in a poem, things are, you know, I've gotten myself into a place. And so I have to find a way out of the poem while keeping within the logic of the poem. And I enjoyed that. Robert Frost said he never started a poem when he knew how it was going to end. So even that the writing of the poem becomes an adventure and a surprise. So anyway, poetry is a lot of fun.
So does that mean that you sometimes, or maybe all the time, you don't really know where the poem is going as you're writing it, that you'll start the poem and it will take you in certain directions, its own directions?
Oh, for sure. In fact, I was listening to a poem by Emily Dickinson. This narrator was saying, well, obviously Emily expected to get published or she wouldn't have written them down. I'm thinking, Well, no, she had to write them down to create the poem. I mean, you know, at least, but now I realize that would be my style. I guess some people would write the poem in their head and then put it on paper. But for me, the poem wouldn't exist until I started writing it. But that, for me, that's the fun of it. But we'll have to talk someday to find out what your approach is, Laurie.
I know I talked about the muse before, and I think the poem often wants to go the way it wants to go. It'll start, but you try forcing it to go where it doesn't want to go, and it won't. So you've got to let it go the way it wants to.
Right.
Right. It'll be stilted. It'll feel stilted, and it will end up stilted if you really try to control it. Even if you are trying to write a poem very specifically to a subject, like someone you love, you want to write something wonderful for them, and it might not want to go there. And it might be that when you have difficulty writing that particular poem, let the poem kind of guide the way. It's hard to let go of that, and it's a little abstract, but the poem really does have its own flavor in life. It's got its own thread, you know, and take risks with word choices and places where the poem wants to go. It's fun.
That's
Anyway.
nicely put, Melissa.
Yeah, definitely.
Somebody's next.
Well, let's see. So,
Larry, next person, Lori. Lori,
yeah, let me see if I can make this work again.
throw one.
Take a second.
Yeah, what do next?
Okay. I have a couple more on here.
There we are.
Let me just sort of remind myself what I have. Okay, I have two more. Okay. Again, sort of an abstract poem. Sometimes I write idea poems. And this one actually came from looking at a postcard with a picture of, there was a man standing with the parts of a bicycle spread out all around him. And that was the entire image. And this is what came out of looking at that. Attributes of things. Put enough pieces in proximity and a certain gravity takes hold. Possibility tightens as truly as a wrench. A wheel might not be just a wheel, or a gear, but velocity disassembled.
I hadn't heard that poem before. That's really nice, Laurie.
I love having the physical image to go with it. The person sitting there surrounded by his deconstructed bicycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
On postcard. Okay. This one, I'm not sure where this one came from exactly. There is a line in this poem, though, that came to me in a dream. So, and I knew I wanted to use it, but beyond that, I'm not quite sure where this came from. Poem stone. It starts small, the stone at the center of a peach, dimpled, difficult, smelling of almonds. Soon it grows to invite your foot, a step up, a stepping stone. Then it widens to entice your whole body, becomes a lake of a boulder. When you lie on it, your spine skips like pebbles. It meets the length of you, so many fingertips it has the touch of air. When you rise, it keeps something, but you don't know what it is and never miss it.
So nice.
Okay. So let's see. I'm going to put this one away then and bring your poems up again, Brad. Does that sound good? There they are.
The next one.
Next one, the bird song is the next one, right?
No, I already did that.
Oh, sorry, you did. So you did.
Well, there's another one with a bird in it. Now, every once in a while, people have thought that my poetry was for the birds, but not in a nice way. So anyway, This was written some winter when I lived near a park in Wheaton, Maryland. This song is brown grass, a white wind that chases leaves across the frozen ground. Horizons sharp with ice carve quarter notes in bone. Thoughts are skaters drowned in silent pools. Fields slope down toward fence lines of trees, skeleton fingers that try to play the sky, but only whisper, moaning like old men in dreams. Yet on the edge of sound, something stirs, crying out against sleep. A solitary voice melted out of frost. A dark speck, wings, dipping music from the fastness of December sky.
It's really nice.
Well, the next one is one of, I don't write out very many political poems, but this is one of them. I had to have something like Larry's. Okay, this is called We the Living. And the quote, I don't know who the anonymous author was. Who is without guilt? Let him speak. We the living can speak of war and peace, gods and demons, nights of nightmares that are real, like sudden storms that drown the familiar in gouts of mud. We can see the newsreader's calm face as today's horrors unreal. Real blood on steaming pavements and real faces contorted with grief and hate. Too late, we sometimes see our hand in the cataclysm. The stand we did not take, choices we refuse to make.
Well, that's a powerful ending, Brad.
Yeah.
Apropos of what's going on. Good one.
Yeah,
It's a
I'm
strong
afraid
one.
it's always current, regrettably.
It is regrettable. Okay,
Okay, well,
there's a new message. I
Um,
see. Oh, no, good.
Fran agrees that it's a powerful
Yeah,
poem. It really is.
it's a good one,
then
Brad.
you put the rhyme at the very end, and that seems to somehow, I don't know, it kind of brings it all
Yeah.
together.
It snaps to attention.
Mhm.
yeah, exactly what I
Take
intended.
and
Of course, it happened like poems tend to.
Right. Exactly. The hard K.
Yay.
Yeah,
Ah,
And it stops the poem. It comes to a stop and
yeah,
without saying, stop this poem here.
yeah.
right.
You know, it's fun to do. Okay.
Okay, Melissa, let's
Okay.
see.
Okay. I'm ready.
What I've got. Hold on one
I'll
second.
try to read. I have time to read two.
So.
Up one.
that
All
one.
right. I'm outside a lot, and all sorts of things happen when you're outside. This happened quite recently in the front of my house. I just heard this noise, and it's called green bottle fly. The nestling fell from higher pines, slapping branches and bark along its descent, fast as squirrels tearing circles down a tree. By the time we reached the limp pink body, a bright little fly was already suckling. That was so fast. When at one moment, the whole time this little pink creature is falling, it's alive. And then it hits the ground. There's no sound. It's lightweight. I'm 10 feet away. I'm walking through the leaves. By the time I get there, life is moving on, and there's a fly on it, and it's going to deliver whatever is going to make that body just go back into the earth, and it's just going to start over again. It's just that this one really struck me as very simple. And I just wanted to say something about how quickly something like this happens, and then it's over. And that's this poem. It's just a small one. Poems don't have to be big. They don't have to have a huge message. It's got a message that you want, message of life. The next one I'll read is about my mother. My mother died a couple of years ago. It always feels like last week when someone passes and goes to the next room. But that's how I look on it. We're in this room, they're in that room, and By the time I get there, they might go to another room. I've always been struck by the image that's in a lot of science fiction movies and things you think of when you're dreaming, when someone falls away. It is that image of going into space with your arms and legs out, and it just stays that way because you just go forever. So this is how I thought of my mother's death. I wrote this really quite soon after she did die in my house here. Still falling. I never knew you could slide away so far, so fast, in that never-ending free fall that comes at the end. Not unlike the child on a long tumble, arms and legs reaching back to where life was solid. But suddenly to be without rope or rings, and the circus is over, the blue tent is gone. I watched you leave, never felt a thing, and here you are still falling. Thank you. And yeah.
So Fran is asking, are all four of you featured in the Visions literary magazine?
Off and on, only if we're good enough.
True.
I get a lot of stuff from everywhere, and off and on, because they're in the workshop and because they're all wonderful poets, naturally, every once in a while I'll say, I'd love to have that one. And sometimes someone will say, well, no, I don't really want to. And that's fine too. But you'll find people from all over the place. I mean, from India, from Tunisia, from a lot of people from Ireland.
And the Baltics.
Oh yeah, the Baltics.
We've got a lot of people send a lot of work from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, some Icelandic.
Because the door is always open. I
Yeah.
mean, as long as I can keep it going.
But just because we're in the workshop with Brad is not a given at all that we make the magazine.
Absolutely.
I mean, no, it's really not. Because I mean, there are many times a couple issues come through and I go, darn, I'm not in, you know, and then I get one, you know, you just never know. It's just, like I said, there's a lot of competition and we don't have a special in because we know the guy. It's too bad. We've tried, but it just doesn't seem to work. Just kidding. We don't. We don't cheat.
No cheating here.
We don't even know how to cheat. We're ridiculous. Anyway, Larry, is there time?
If
for a
I can make
couple?
this work.
Another one?
Lewis.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think there may be time for Larry.
Oh, Larry. Back around to Larry. I'm sorry.
Sorry. No, it's not you.
Did the stop share.
It's
Okay.
me not being clear.
Take it away.
Okay.
Okay, am I on? Yes. Sparrows. My words fell in the pond, causing ripples. I cast my words backwards into time to tell a friend my troubles. I write my words on paper, sail them to the future. Grandchildren catch them in the air. I put my words under my pillow. When I awake, they are gone. Payment for my dreams. I bury my words in the ground, rooted in the damp, rich earth. In dark soil, they grow beneath the feet of everyone who passes. Finally, I seal my words on your lips, where they fly away like sparrows. And maybe we could conclude on that.
What about one more?
One
I think
more.
you have time for one more, Larry. You do.
Okay, I never say
on.
no to that.
Come on, you invited us all. I think you can finish up with one.
Sure.
One more.
Okay, Outcast. I asked the night to tell me a story, personal, something no one else knew. How the earth turned its shoulder to the sun, pivoted as if offended, as though something was said and the world chose darkness to the light, a light that was unremitting, where no secrets lived. Tell me your story, how you came to be, how you beat out your own kingdom, learned to live with outcasts, the unwanted. And the night told me the story of strangers, desolation, as we walked along, obedient to none.
That's powerful.
Thank you.
That's a strong one.
Thanks to everybody for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank, thank you so much. We've never done this before.
Yeah.
So we were all a little nervous. I certainly was. So
No, it was a pleasure.
yeah, it sure was. Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Have a great
Appreciate it.
evening.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.